Graham from LSAT Hacks, and this is an advanced video on how to do LSAT test day timing exactly like test day, or rather, not test day timing, but like all the stuff involved on LSAT test day. So if you haven't seen it already, I made a basic video on how to time yourself properly and use the right pencils and so on. This is more of a video on like what you're allowed to bring to the test center and timing yourself using only those things you're allowed to have. And when you're listening to the stuff in this video, keep in mind like your own personal stuff. For example, you can only bring a small beverage container to the test center. So if you're a coffee addict, this is going to be a problem for you. If you're not, then you don't have to worry about that section. Test center has a lot of people and distractions. So if you're easily distracted during the test, then prep for that part of it. If you're not, then don't. So I'm just going to run through the whole list of things that often trip people up about test day. And I'm going to start with the things you're allowed to have on your desk. LSAT test day is very strict. There's a page, LSAT day of test rules, that you should read like thoroughly before you start. But this is the list of things you can have on your tabletop. You can have tissues, like Kleenex. You can have your ID and admissions ticket. You can have pencils. You can have erasers. You can have a pencil sharpener. You can have highlighters, but I don't recommend it. And you can have an analog watch. So like one of these things, which is the only way you can keep time. Also note, pencils have to be wooden number 2 pencils, no mechanical. And that's it. So I think actually like pretty much everybody should practice only with those things around them. Because if you're like taking a test, drinking tea or whatever, like that's not allowed on test day. So why would you do that when you're practicing? You're doing something you're not allowed to do. And then the stuff you're allowed to bring to the test center is also strict. For instance, you cannot bring a cell phone to the test center. So like say you are taking an Uber there, well, good luck. You'll have to like take a cab from payphone or something like that, or get someone to order the Uber for you. But basically, no cell phone. So the other things you're allowed to have that you can have in a Ziploc bag under the table but not on the desk are as follows. So first of all, Ziploc bag. You can have like a 1-gallon bag. I think it's like 3.97 liters. I'm in Canada. We don't actually like have volumes on our Ziploc bags. At least not on the box that I've got, but I think this is the right size. Just, check that you've actually got the right size. So you get a Ziploc, what can you have in it? Besides the stuff that you can have on your desk, you can have your wallet, your keys, medical and feminine hygiene supplies. You can have one beverage container. It says plastic on the list, 591 milliliters or 20 ounces. I mean, it's the same size. So doesn't sound like you can have like a metal water bottle. It specifies no aluminum cans, no glass, and I would say like no metal, just plastic. And that's the only beverage container you can have. So this is where it affects, if you are constantly drinking like water, if you constantly drink coffee, you're going to have to plan around this because test day is long. Test day is like 5 hours long. So I recommend cutting back on caffeine consumption in the weeks leading up to the test so you can get through 5 hours with only one chance to drink coffee without being messed up. And note that you can only bring one thing, so if you bring coffee, you can't bring water. You have to check your test center to see if during the break there's an area you're allowed to go to that has a water fountain if you want to have both coffee and water. Like, these are very practical decisions that a lot of people don't think of until they go to test day. And then you're allowed to have a snack in your bag as well, which, it's not going to be much food given you have to bring everything in here. So, again, if you're the sort of person that like eats like 8 small meals a day or something and is constantly getting hungry, then you're also going to have to plan around that. Maybe change your meal schedule in the weeks up to the LSAT so you're having like large or less frequent meals, or practice finding foods that like keep you sated for longer, and deal with the fact that like in a 5-hour period you only get to eat once. So another thing you can do is take the test at exactly the same time that it will be on your own test day. So wake up at the same time, eat breakfast at the same time, eat the thing you're going to eat on test day, drink coffee or tea at the same time, and then like take the test at the same time and eat only the same snack, and just check that everything works, because you don't want to practice for the LSAT for months and months and months and months and then find out that you're just like really thirsty or have to go to the bathroom on test day and you're distracted. Like these are preventable issues. And so practicing the LSAT, practicing your whole morning routine is a good step to making sure you don't have any unforeseen screw-ups. Because test day, I mean, it's pretty nerve-wracking by itself just because there's like pressure around it. But I think a good portion of it is that people aren't used to the process itself. So by prepping all these little things, you can reduce a lot of the anxiety around test day. Some other stuff is the test day is like, well, it's going to depend on your test center, but the typical test center is pretty large. There's a lot of people. The proctors, if they're bad at it, may like be whispering and talking back and forth, laughing. There will be like people dropping stuff on the floor, people coughing, people crying. There'll be like all kinds of distractions. It's going to be a pretty quiet place, but it's not your bedroom. A lot of people practice in like some pristine, totally isolated, distractionless environment, and that's not going to be test day. So one thing you can do is do some of your tests in a place like a cafe that has pretty similar environment where like it's usually not too noisy, but there's stuff going on. So just get used to that, and that will also help you avoid any kind of like foreseeable test day stress. The one exception I recommend you make when you're doing time tests to the test day rules is to have in the background some kind of a proctor running, either like a proctor app or just have your phone on 35 minutes and use that to keep exact time, whereas you check your time remaining on this. But when you do this, put your phone in airplane mode, also hit the silent switch so it's not making any beeps, put it out of your field of vision so you don't see it and want to check it, put it upside down so it doesn't like make any flashing lights. Just have it there doing its thing, but otherwise ignore it. Just basically it's a stopwatch. And if you have a stopwatch that makes a noise, that's a better solution. There's also YouTube videos you could have on a computer in the background, but like same thing. So you definitely should have something keeping official time. Just make sure it's in the spirit of test day where it's really just like the human proctor calling stuff out and it's not doing anything else. And I think that's pretty much it. So basically go over the first video where I talk about like test day basics and make sure you do all that stuff. But then keep in mind the other factors, including what you can have on the desk, what you can bring, what your whole day is going to be like in terms of like wake up, when you eat, when you use the washroom, when you drink, what you drink, and so on, and just make sure that you are on a suitable plan. Check out the test center in advance to just make sure that there's no like unforeseen stuff. Like I've had cases where like someone was left-handed and then the writing desks were all for right-handed people and it just wasn't good. So just check the test center and see that in advance. Make sure you know how to get to it. Oh yeah, also when you're like planning like what time to wake up, calculate the driving distance and so on. And then lastly, practice in a environment like a cafe where there's going to be some distractions because you will have those on test day. And if you do all of this, then you're going to be much more prepared for test day itself, and you're not going to have months of practice like go down the drain from being surprised by one of the things involved in what is a fairly rigorous testing process. The one last tip is look at the whole time of things. When you take the test, there's a bunch of instructions that they're going to read out. I think they're actually going to like read these. I don't remember, it's been a little bit since I took the test. Then you're going to have to fill out this, so you can actually like fill in the your name and everything if you want to fully simulate it. You can add experimental, like just simulate the fact that, well, a full time test takes about 2.5 hours. The whole thing actually ends up being like 5 hours when you add all the little bits. Alright, so that's it, and good luck.